Hello, I'm Robert Simmons. I'm the author of The Book of Stones, The Pocket Book of Stones, Moldavite, Starborn Stone of Transformation, Stones of the New Consciousness, and Earthfire, A Tale of Transformation. I'm also the owner, with my wife Kathy, of Heaven and Earth, the crystal, gemstone, and jewelry company based in East Montpelier, Vermont. Now, the reason I'm making this video is this is my invitation to you to come to Vermont in June of 2020 for a brand new 4-day intensive workshop. And this video is also a first sneak peek into what we'll be doing in that workshop. I will be, over time, making more videos focused on different aspects of this workshop and the work that we'll do in that 4-day time. So the event is called the Alchemy of Stones 2, and it will be held in Burlington, Vermont on June 11th through the 14th of 2020. If you want information about that, go to our website, heavenandearthjewelry.com. That's www.heavenandearthjewelry.com. Or you can call our staff in Vermont at 802-476-4775. So I've told you how you can get in touch if you're interested, but why should you be interested? What is this event, and why am I offering it? Well, for over 30 years now, I've been studying and experimenting with stones and their energies, and I've come to understand that what we're all doing and have been doing all this time is well described in what was known for centuries as alchemy. Now, alchemy was always about transformation. If you're aware of alchemy in the way that is most commonly thought of, you'll be thinking about alchemists as those early chemists who were trying to transform lead into gold. And although there's some reality to that, and many did, the ones I'm most interested in are the spiritual alchemists who understood that transforming lead to gold was really a metaphor rather than something to expect to do literally. And the lead was the alchemist himself or herself at the beginning of the work, the imperfect, not whole, unhealed human being who aspired to not only heal and become whole, but to join in co-creative union with the soul of the world. And this is very much what I feel that my own work with crystals and stones has been about for these 3 decades, and also what all of us are doing with crystals and stones, whether we actually even realize it or not. I do think, though, that taking on the understanding of the alchemical worldview is a really good way to expand and give us a much fuller picture of what stone energies and the stones themselves are all about, and also what the potential is for us in terms of how far we can take this kind of thing, what we can really do with stones that is going to actually create meaningful changes that we aspire to, and beyond even what we've understood and aspired to so far, how much more it has to offer. I believe that working with stones and crystals is the premier spiritual path available to human beings. Now, why do I say that? I say that because the stones themselves emanate these energies that many of us are able to feel. And when we feel those energies, what are we feeling, and where are we actually experiencing that? You know, stone energies have never been measured by machinery, and I doubt they ever will be, because we are the organ of sensitivity to the energies of consciousness. And I believe that crystal energies are energies of consciousness. I view what the stone vibrations are as notes of music, you might say. And every different type of crystal has its own note that it emanates. And I like to think of the stones as beings rather than things. With things, it's like taking a vitamin for this ailment or a pill for that ailment, and then you get well, but it's just a thing to us. But in fact, when you enter in the alchemical worldview, you begin to see, as they did, that everything in the universe is animated by consciousness, and everything has consciousness. Even atoms have a kind of consciousness. This is also an idea that has been put out more and more by many thinkers these days, and they call it panpsychism, which basically means pan means everywhere, psyche is consciousness or soul, so panpsychism means soul or consciousness everywhere. This was the ancient alchemical view, and they believed that the center of consciousness that animates our whole world was the soul of the world, which they knew as the Sophia, the ancient Greek name for the goddess of wisdom. You can see that our world is quite pervaded by wisdom. The natural world is, in all of the harmony and the amazing diversity of expression of our earth. I won't go into that because that would take up the whole video and then some, but just think about it yourself. So I want to say again, alchemy was always concerned with transformation, and it was spiritual transformation, and it was aimed at enlightenment. But along the path of enlightenment, the first step is healing and coming into wholeness. And for that, the help of Sophia, and in our case, when we work with the alchemy of stones, the help of the stone beings, was integral to the process. So I'm going to read you a quote from a philosopher named Paul Levy, who said this about alchemy. Alchemy is a timeless, sacred art. As the alchemist's art is to become an instrument for the incarnating deity to make itself real in time and space. Now that's a mouthful. It's quite eloquent. Let me unpack it for you just quickly. What he's saying here is that human beings potentially are in partnership with the divine. And if one chooses the path of alchemy, one is saying or aspiring to become an ally to not only our own aspiration and desire, but to the desire of the divine. We aim in the alchemy of stones to Sophia, the soul of the world. Sophia wishes to incarnate. Sophia wishes to become consciously aware and real in the physical world of time and space. At the moment, this is a partially accomplished thing, I believe, and the fact that stones in a certain way have come awake more and more over the past several decades says to me this is a symptom of the awakening of the consciousness of the whole earth. Now, when we orient ourselves to relate with the stones as beings, and we orient towards them with love and blessing, as well as with an idea of receiving what they have to offer, then we nourish them just as they nourish us. And this is very important, especially for that alchemical goal of helping the divine to become incarnated in this world through us. Now, I could say a whole lot more about that, and I love to talk about that, but I think I'll just take another step into other aspects of this. So one thing I could say is, what about the practical matters? You know, a lot of us came into crystals and stones and collecting them because we wanted to get healed. We wanted to feel this energy that has this spiritual quality to it that makes us feel closer to something magical and transformative. You know, we had a lot of motivations for coming. But they're all these practical matters, aside from the mystical ones, have to do with things like what stone helps me with abundance, what stone will help me with relationships, what stone will help me develop love, find love in my life. And I got this question about it when I was preparing to teach some workshops in Japan. I was asked how working with the many high energy spiritual stones that I particularly like to work with has aided me in achieving blessings and successes in regard to my career and financial life, as well as my personal relationships. These are all and spiritual life. These are all very practical kinds of questions, and they're important because they go to the heart of my whole way of living, and also the things that I teach, and also to what I mean by the alchemy of stones. So first I want to present the picture that as human beings we're not actually isolated from the world and everything else. We're supported by our relationships with the whole web of life on the earth. We're supported by the plants that give us food and the animals that make life beautiful and interesting for us, and very much by the stones on the spiritual level. And that's the thing I'll focus on now. In the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm, I like to use the metaphor to describe how it is we relate spiritually with other centers of awareness, such as the stone beings, using the metaphor of Indra's net. Indra's net is a myth of the Hindu culture in which the great god Indra had an amazing transcendent artisan create in one of the rooms of Indra's infinite palace a room that had in it a net of jewels. So imagine this net that goes in all directions, in all dimensions, and at every knot in the net there's a jewel. And because the artisan was so talented, she polished each jewel so perfectly that when it hung in the net, it reflected the image of every other jewel in the infinite net. And because the net was infinite and every gem reflected every other gem, these reflections were infinite wherever you look. That's a pretty good picture of the spiritual reality that underlies this physical world. And if we want to take it to a single instance, we can take it to the place of our own center of consciousness and a stone. If we feel the stone energy, we're feeling what the stone emanates or is singing. And that music, that note of that particular stone is offered out through the whole net of being. When we pay attention, when we use our three powers, attention, intention, and imagination, to turn toward a stone in that way, first of all, we perceive what its energies are offering to us. Now, I think we actually perceive this through our cells, and that the sensation is eventually translated and delivered to consciousness as whatever we feel, whether it's heat or an emotion or whatever it is. I think the energy is like a note of music that our cells can hear, and the translation of it comes up to our individual's consciousness. Whatever that is that's going on, we can take that in, we can invite it in by paying attention. Then we use intention to invite the stone energy into us. We allow images or impressions to form in ourselves of what that energy is like, what its qualities are, and what it's doing in us. And we have the option of offering back to the stone being our blessing, our love, our desire to have relationship. You already know from your own experiences, most of you, that we are nourished spiritually by the energies of the stones in a myriad of different ways. What it might be interesting to contemplate also is that if stones are beings, they're also being nourished by what we offer them. If we offer them nothing and simply take what we feel from them, then we get a benefit, but they don't really get that benefit very much. On the other hand, if we project our well-wishing, our blessing to the stone as a being, and with appreciation and gratitude for what's come to us, that being is nourished. And not only that, but let's say I'm here, the stone being's here, and the energy is like a string of vibration in between us. So that string carries energy to us, and when we wish well back to the other being, then energy goes back along that string and vibrates and resonates with the other being. That's a feedback loop. Suddenly there's more for that being to give back to us, because the next second or moment of energy coming back to us will be incorporating its experience, the stone being's experience of what we offered. And the more this is practiced, the stronger and stronger the relationship, which is that string of vibration between us and the stone being, the stronger that gets. And as that becomes stronger, our experiences become more profound, whether those are physical, emotional, or spiritual. So, in a sense, what I'm trying to say here is, by relating with the stone being is an emanation of Sophia. It's as though she was the great composer, and each stone being is a note of her music, but it also is a being in its own right. By appreciating and offering love and blessing towards that being, even as we're taking in what comes to us, we also resonantly send some of that to the soul of the world. And as we do that, we become aware of the soul of the world. And as that occurs, she becomes that much more real in time and space here in the manifest world. So the very most practical things we do with stones are also reverberating in the same at the same time with the most deeply spiritual things and the ultimate goal of alchemy, which is co-creating with Sophia a world that is the union of heaven and earth. So a little bit more on the practical side again. Stones have different qualities. Rose quartz is known for love. Moldavite is known for transformation and rapid evolution. Azeztulite is known for bringing in the light of the great central sun and illuminating our cells. All of these things are just examples. You know, amethyst is protective and healing. Black tourmaline is quite protective and grounding. You know, I could go on with these things. And I've got books that you can look at to see each one. What I'm saying here is, when you establish on purpose, with your intention and your attention and your imagination, a relationship with a particular kind of stone, then its nature comes into you and becomes incorporated into your nature. So it's interesting, because that means if you want a stone to help you find love, the first thing that happens is the stone helps you to become love. Love comes into you. I become more loving. As I am more loving, love is attracted to me. If I work with a stone for abundance, like the manifesting stone, Himalaya gold azeztulite, I bring those energies in, and what they generate in me is generosity. As I become more generous, more material things, more abundance comes to me. It's really the old law of attraction in a certain way. You resonate with the inner qualities and energies which you have invited into yourself and incarnated. In a certain way, it's like incarnating the deity, except you're doing it one note of music at a time. So, and this is all part of what I mean by the alchemy of stones. The alchemists were great ones for making recipes for all different purposes. And the Book of Stones and other things I write are very much like that in regards to which stone to work with to develop which sorts of qualities in oneself, which then operate in the feedback loops we have with the outer world to bring those things to us. And we incarnate them and they become our life. To me, this is the very essence of what people have always meant by magic. And magic works through the resonance of like with like in the realm of consciousness. And we're so blessed that the stone beings exist in this world with us as the solid anchoring matter which carries in the spiritual qualities that each stone offers into the world for us to make the choice to invite or not. I feel as though this kind of understanding and worldview about what we're doing with stones is very much the alchemical worldview. It's very expansive. There really are no limits to what we can do, to what we can heal, to how deeply we can awaken, and to how much we can bless the earth. So all of these things are things that are going to be a part of the Alchemy of Stones Intensive in Vermont. We're going to be working with a whole bag of stones. Everybody who comes to the workshop will be issued a bag of stones to work with many different types, a lot of high energy stones. So you won't just be listening to me talk all the time by any means. There'll be many, many experiential processes. And we'll go right through processes of healing through the subtle body on the physical, emotional, and cellular levels. We're going to learn how to do this kind of healing for ourselves and others. And we're going to work with our own DNA to open up the latent potentials that lead to awakening of what is called the body of light. So there's another whole video that I'll talk about in regards to that, but our body of light is what illumination and enlightenment is all about. The awakening of that in terms of we are become aware of ourselves as light-filled is what's meant by light body awakening. And I believe that on the physical level, this occurs through activation of a potential that is carried by our DNA. There's some science behind this that I'm going to bring out. It's very exciting to me to sort of see the correspondence of the inner experiences that I've had through my work with stones and the light that I've felt and seen and been filled with at times, and the description in science of what's going on in our DNA when this occurs. Not only that, but it seems as though there are potentials of abilities that human beings have that have not been realized that can be activated through working consciously with DNA and bringing in the vibratory signatures of the stones to activate each of these different potentialities. So we're going to work with that quite a lot. We're going to work with what I call photonic crystal work, which is a means by which we can treat ourselves, others, land, water, animals, pets, people remotely. We can even treat the whole earth photonically with the help of stones. So that's another aspect of the intensive. We'll be aiming at, after light body activation or in concert with light body activation, with the process of what I call vibrational ascension, which is the people have talked about ascension in the metaphysical world for a long time, and I think this vibrational ascension that we can experience through working with the stone beings and Sophia is what has been pointed to for some time in that regard. But I don't think we leave the earth. I think we and the earth ascend together, and that the earth becomes the union of heaven and earth. So again, these are my favorite things to talk about. We will be doing things with protection, with purification. I'll be bringing in some very large crystal-filled pyramids with different kinds of stones and different ones to activate different energy potentials in us. I'm going to build some new geometric, I guess you'd call them energy devices that you can sit in and experience the energies of at this event. And there's a lot of surprises that I haven't even talked about yet. One thing people have asked me is, do we need to have come to the 2016 Alchemy of Stones event, the first one that I did several years ago, in order to be ready for this one? And the answer is no, not at all. Anybody who is interested in working with stones and learning about them can come and get a lot out of it. It's not that kind of sequential learning. In fact, the stone beings probably do as much or more of the real teaching at this event than I do. It's relating with them that's really going to bring it home for you. So that's why the workshop is at least half experiential work and not more than half teaching, talking kind of work. But we'll all have a chance to get to know each other. We'll get a chance to work in synergy with one another. The whole room that we'll work in will be gridded out with high energy stones so that we'll create an environment that facilitates all the processes that we're going to do. In case you wonder what the 2016 first Alchemy of Stones workshop was like, when you register, we'll send you a set of the videos from that entire event, and to the degree that you want to view all that and take it in, you'll be able to. So I hope this video has conveyed my enthusiasm. I hope I've been clear with you about the essence of what I want to offer, and I hope you notice in yourself what might resonate about what I've said. Again, if you want to get information about this, go to my website, the Heaven and Earth website, heavenandearthjewelry.com, or call our Vermont office, 9 to 5 Eastern Time in the U.S. That's 802-476-4775. I'm really looking forward to the gathering of the tribe of stone-loving people who come to these events, because a lot of the magic is spontaneous and occurs in the synergy of everybody relating with one another, and the field that we create together, and the field that the stone beings also create with us, and the presence of Sophia in the room with us, bringing wisdom and love into everything that we do. So don't miss it. I guarantee that I'll be there, and I really look forward to meeting some of you again and others for the first time. So there will be more videos about this. You can probably find them on YouTube as I do them by looking up Alchemy of Stones 2020, Robert Simmons, or some combination of those words. And we will be sending out emails announcing the videos as I do them. So get on the Heaven and Earth email list by going to our website or calling our office. And it was a pleasure to speak with you and offer you this first enthusiastic encouragement and invitation to come to the Alchemy of Stones 2020 intensive. All right, so see you later, everybody. Give me some feedback on this. Let me know if it made sense to you, and we'll go from there. Thanks again. Bye.